But once they get back, they take this off season to just improve and work on their health and get back to where they need to be. I just think that Ja Morant is going to have an even better year next year. He's only going to be better. How's it going, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wax Talk with Raw Mints. I'm Carlos, and Bruce is actually not going to be appearing on this episode due to some circumstances back where he lives. There's quite a few fires burning right now in Arizona across the state, and last week they were ordered to evacuate. Everybody's fine. Tiffany's fine. The baby's fine. No need to worry about that. But it was a pretty stressful week, pretty hectic, as you can imagine. So Bruce kind of took the week off this week just to kind of tend to his family and tend to everything that's going on there. Everything's good. Like I said, they lifted the evacuation notice for them. So they're back home in Globe. He should be back on the episode next week, and we'll just have our normal episode next week with our Ask the Hobby segments and Flips of the Week and whatnot with the new topic. But for now, it's just going to be me today. Like I said, there's a few fires burning across the state of Arizona right now. We really hope that everybody's staying safe out there. Everybody's taking the proper precautions, to protect themselves and their loved ones. And we just hope that everybody's doing fine out there. We're with you. We're thinking of you. But we're just going to kind of do things a little bit differently today. Like I said, it's just going to be me on the episode. It's going to be a shorter episode than usual because Bruce obviously does add a ton of value to this podcast. But today I'm going to do a little bit of a market dive into a few cards that I've been picking up and that I would suggest that if you are in it for investing or if you are even in it to collect cards, now is a good time to buy a few of the cards that I did some market research on today. But before we get into it, as always, if you can make sure to like, subscribe, follow, rate, review if you can. That really does help us out a lot with the podcast. We really do appreciate everybody that's continued to listen week after week since we started this. We're now on episode 16. We have a great time doing it every week, and we really do appreciate the feedback. We've gotten a lot of people that reached out to us on Instagram saying that they love the podcast and they like what we're doing. So here's to you. We really do appreciate all of the support and you guys just taking the time out of your days each week to listen to the podcast and just kind of hear us talking about cards and the hobby and why we love it. So without further ado, I'm just going to kind of get into this week's episode. So like I said, on this week's episode, I'm just going to be kind of doing a deep dive in the market with the four main sports, which in my opinion are basketball, soccer, football, and baseball. I chose four cards that I, one, have been picking up, and two, that I would suggest you pick up if you're either looking for an investment or if you want to collect these cards, because now is a good time to buy them because their prices have dipped a bit. Obviously, collect what you love and who you love, and this isn't really me telling you exactly what to do or trying to preach that I know everything about the hobby, because I definitely don't. I don't think anybody really does. But I just kind of wanted to share with you kind of the moves that I'm making personally behind the scenes at Raw Mints when it comes to picking up cards, and the reasons why I've not only been picking up these cards, but I have been suggesting anybody that's in the hobby to maybe pick up a few of these or maybe multiples of the same card, or just pick all four of these cards up. These days, I've been leaning more towards picking up graded cards in general, unless it's a prospect card or maybe a new release like the UFC Prism cards that I've been picking up. And the reason why I've moved more towards graded cards, I guess in my experience within the hobby, is everybody knows how long it takes for cards to get graded these days, especially if you're doing it in bulk submissions, which that's how we grade our cards. We grade through PC Sports Cards. Josh Cohen and their team, make sure to give them a follow, give them some business. They're top notch. I feel like they're one of the best in the industry when it comes to group subbing. and personal submissions. But everybody kind of knows how long it's been taking, and the future, as far as grading goes, it kind of is in limbo right now. I know it's not going to go away. There's no way it could go away. That would mean the hobby would probably crash if it completely went away, as far as the investment side of things, because that's where you get your most money, and that's where you kind of mitigate the most risk. If the card is already graded, a buyer can't come back and say, well, the corners are bent or the surface is scratched, or even if it wasn't when you sent it out, because it's encapsulated and the grade is the grade. That's one reason why I've been personally moving towards graded cards, because of the time that it takes to grade cards these days. It's a pretty long wait. I mean, you have to be patient if you are grading cards in the bulk strategy. We send out quite a bit of cards each sub that we have out. We've got about 5 submissions out right now. One of them should be due to pop pretty soon. Hopefully they pop sooner than later. That submission that we have that should be due to pop, we sent that out literally a year ago. So we've been waiting a year on that sub. It's about 167 cards in that sub. I believe it's majority soccer for me that I sent in. Bruce sent in some soccer, basketball, and baseball. I think with all the increased demand of people wanting to not only rip packs and spend a lot of money on breaking cards and breaking boxes, I believe that people, if they do stay in the hobby, they'll do as I kind of made my journey along the hobby, where at first I really just wanted to open boxes, open packs, and that was the most exciting thing. It still is very exciting. But over the time, as I stayed in the hobby and I learned more about it, and I learned how to properly invest, or I guess mitigate risk when it comes to investing, I learned to gravitate more towards graded cards. And I believe that there's a lot of people out there that are just starting in the hobby and they're ripping a lot of packs like I was. And I think it's more of a natural progression over time. If you do stay in the hobby, if you do fall in love with the hobby like I did, you start to realize, wow, I'm spending a lot of money on sealed wax and sealed products, and when I'm opening them, yeah, it's fun, but I'm not getting nearly the value in cards that I spent on the box, especially with the high prices of wax these days. If you still do love the hobby and that doesn't, deter you from staying in it, I think you kind of just learn as you go, like I did, and realize that, oh, okay, if I'm going to be investing this kind of money, I think I'd much rather have something that's graded, that I know exactly what it is, it's exactly what I want, and I'll spend my money that way. If I'm making investments in the hobby, which I don't just focus on investing, it's definitely shifted a lot more to just building my PC over time. But I do have a lot of investments that I do make in the hobby and continue to, buying the dip and selling high, or buying multiples of a player that I really like and keeping one long term and then selling one in the future to hopefully pay for the multiple cards that I picked up. But I just really think that that's the move for me. It's not for everybody. I think if you are realizing this, I do have conversations with people a lot on Instagram that reach out to me, and they ask me the values of cards and which ones they should pick up and why. I just give my honest feedback on it, on the situation, and kind of help them make an informed decision, or give them a second opinion. That's always nice to have a second opinion. But the more and more that I speak to people, and the people that have reached out to us about the podcast on Instagram at Raw Mints, the people that have reached out to us, they really enjoyed the sealed wax versus graded cards episode, and they usually say something along the lines of, you guys really nailed it on the head. I was spending a lot of money on sealed wax and wasn't getting nearly the same amount of value out of it, and just kind of thanking us for making those examples and kind of drawing it out for people, that you could still spend the same amount of money, but you can protect your investment and know exactly what you're getting. It can be graded, and it could be of a really good player, maybe the best player in the product, some might say. That's just the move that we've been on. That's what we've been gravitating towards within the hobby, with all sports, really. So that's really why I wanted to kind of dive deep today and share with you all. I know I'm rambling. It's difficult without Bruce here. He's usually able to, steer the conversation a little bit better and, keep us on track. Even though we do get off track sometimes when we talk soccer, which, geez, soccer over the weekend. Oh my gosh, what a scary situation that happened on Saturday during the Euros of Denmark versus Finland. I don't know if anybody knows about it or if anybody was watching. Christian Eriksen for the Denmark national team, he collapsed on the pitch towards the end of the first half of the match. And that was really scary. That I was at the gym that morning while it was happening. I was, watching them on the TVs that they have there. No sound, so I couldn't hear what was happening. But I looked at the screen and I saw that, there's the human wall of his teammates. And I was like, oh, what happened? Because, it's not uncommon to see that when people just kind of stand behind them and just kind of shield them from, any sort of injury or something that's happening. But I just knew something was totally wrong when I realized that a few of the players were like sobbing in tears. I was like, what the hell happened? And we've all seen it even in baseball when two players are running to catch the ball and they crash, midair, they crash full speed, head first. It's pretty dangerous. It's very dangerous when you don't have that type of protective gear. Football's injuries are not uncommon, but at least there's a little bit of protection. But, usually whenever players might crash into something or whatnot, and I figured it was something along those lines in soccer. It's not uncommon for players to bang heads whenever they go up for a ball midair. I've seen it so often. So just to see Christian Eriksen, I didn't see him fall. Obviously, like I said, I saw, the players around him crying, and I was like, oh, this is not good. I texted my fiance Bree right away and asked her if she could change it to ESPN because my internet wasn't that good at the gym and I couldn't, for whatever reason, the ESPN app wasn't loading on my phone. So I was just kind of texting her. I texted Bruce, texted my buddy Jake, and asked them what was going on. And the first thing that they said was, I don't know, Christian Eriksen was getting CPR. And I was like, whoa, that is not good. So I was trying to find stuff on the internet. It happened, it was happening while I was there live. So there wasn't any reporting. And then I saw that, I read somewhere that he had collapsed on the pitch. And, I asked him if they saw if he had ran into somebody and then collapsed. And they said no, that he just collapsed. So it's happened in basketball. It's happened in multiple sports and boxing when players get injured without running into anybody or getting tripped or falling. It happens pretty often, with ankle injuries and Achilles and whatnot. But to hear that he collapsed, I was like, oh my gosh, dude, did he have a freaking heart attack on the pitch? Like, he's so young. Like, I was super shocked. Thankfully, he, is stable. They suspended the match temporarily, obviously because nobody knew what was going on. It didn't look good. It looked very grim. The fans, the supporters there, both Denmark and Finland, their fans were visibly upset. And, the anchors, the analysts were all hoping for the best, but you just kind of felt this weird tone, kind of that vibe that you got, if you remember, when you heard about Kobe for the first time, about Kobe passing away. It was very eerily similar to that vibe. And it was just like, dude, I really hope that he's okay. And thankfully, I don't know if he's okay. Clearly something happened. I'm assuming it was with his heart if he went to cardiac arrest. But, they shared a photo, which again, I think that they should have just cut the feed. I don't think anybody needs to see that. Cut the feed, dude. I heard that broadcasts in the UK, like the BBC, were showing angles that they should not have been showing. Like, if this man would have passed away on the pitch, that would have been terrible. That just cut the feeds. I don't understand it. I know I've seen it happen in some sports and wrestling and other times where something tragic or something bad has happened, and they just cut the feeds. Yeah, they might go to the analysts at the studio. They might, have that type of talks or commentating, but just cut the feeds. There's no reason why they should have to hold up flags to try to protect, Eriksen from the view of cameras and broadcasting. It's a bit disrespectful and just in bad taste. I hope that the football community and pretty much all of the sports community kind of learned something there that, hey, maybe we should realize that this person's a human being. He has family, he has friends, he has, fans around the world that support him and love him. Like, they don't want to see something like that if it is, their last moments. So thankfully it wasn't. We really hope that Christian Eriksen and his family are doing okay. We hope for a full recovery. We hope that he's doing all right. We hope that everything turns out good and he can continue to play the beautiful game if he so chooses to. But definitely a scary moment in sports. If you were watching, if you did see what happened, it's just this type of things happen. And I mean, it's a crazy world. I mean, you could be a footballer. These guys are yoked. These guys are ripped. They're in great shape. They're usually pretty young. Their cardio is insane. And this type of stuff can happen to anybody. It can be genetic. It can be just a freak accident. Kind of keep in mind and kind of carry that into your own life. I know that I definitely did, is just kind of enjoy your life while you can, because you just never know what's going to happen and things can change in an instant. So just kind of be thankful for what you have and what you've got. And we're very thankful for the hobby. It definitely does take our minds off of a lot of things, and it gives us something to look forward to if we're having a rough day or a rough week. And just be thankful for what you have in life, and tell people that you're thinking of them and you care about them whenever you get the chance to. I'm getting off the rails. So let's dive into the topic today. This sounds like a talk show in here. I'm sorry. I need Bruce here to steer the conversation back to the tracks. But let's just get into the topic. Like I said, it's not going to be a really in-depth episode. We're not going to do our normal segments. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys got an episode this week, and we just continue to keep our consistency going. We really enjoy the podcast. So like I said, the episode is going to be about 4 cards that I've been picking up. 4 cards that I recommend picking up if you want to, if you're privy to it. And I'm going to give you the reasons for each. So the way that I kind of broke it down is, like I said, I broke it down to the 4 main sports, and I'm going to give you a card for each sport that I think is a really safe buy, and I think it's a good pickup if you so choose. So keep in mind, when I'm talking about each of these cards, that all of the seasons of these sports, which is basketball, football, soccer, and baseball, all the seasons are very different as far as when they start and they end and when their playoffs are. I'm going to mention those seasons as I talk about each card, but just know that the prices are going to be a little bit different, obviously, because I'm basing it on today, and I'm going back 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and a year to evaluate the pricing of each card and how it's changed and fluctuated, gone up and gone down. I'm doing that from today. So clearly right now, baseball is in season. The NBA playoffs are happening right now as well. NFL is in the off season. Soccer, I don't really think there's really an off season in my opinion. There's league seasons. There's international seasons, whether it's friendlies or the Euros or Copa America or CONCACAF. Like I want to say that their off season is like a month. So that's not really the case. That's just kind of is based on performance, really. So first we're going to talk about basketball, and the first card that I've been picking up that I did some market research on, and I think is a good buy. I think it's a safe buy, whether you're looking to get a return on your investment when the season starts back up, or if the player does really well, or if you're holding it very long term. All 4 of these players, I think that they have a good future, and I think that they're established for a few of them. I think that these are all pretty safe players to bet money on because of their popularity and where I see them going in their collective sport. Again, I could be wrong. I'm not the expert. This isn't necessarily advice. This is just kind of what we've been doing, and this is how I've been making my investments. So the first card we're going to be talking about is the 2019 Panini Hoops Ja Morant. That's card number 259, and that's in a PSA 10. And so like I said, the basketball season for the previous year, it started in December of 2020, and it's going to go on until July, so next month of 2021. So if you can kind of bear with me and kind of see why maybe at certain points the prices were higher or lower, that's going to be why. And that's going to be the same for all the other cards that I'm reviewing today. So the Ja Morant PSA 10 hoops, the total PSA 10 population as of today is 4,467 cards. So that's PSA 10. So 4,467 PSA 10s in existence. I think that's kind of high, but I don't think that it's astronomical in comparison to some players in baseball that have really high, or Zion. Some of his cards are like in the tens, 20s, thousands of production. So 4,400 isn't too bad for me. The average of the last 3 sales of this Ja Morant Hoops PSA 10, the average price is $61. So if you could get it for around, I mean, as low as you can, but anywhere around 61, 65, I think you should be pretty safe with that. I do see these prices getting lower during the off season if they're already at this point in the playoffs, where obviously the Grizzlies are no longer in the playoffs. I just think that it could go down even lower during this off season, especially with the market correction happening right now. So like I said, the average of the last 3 PSA 10s went for $61 3 months ago. So in March of 2021, the average price was $113. So that's pretty close to being worth almost double 3 months ago. 6 months ago, in December, the average price was $121. So that is at double of what it's currently going for. 9 months ago, which was in September of last year, they were going for $129. So again, that's a little bit more than double what they're going for now. And then 12 months ago, so a year ago, again, keep in mind, the COVID suspensions and all of that was happening last year. So the season was a little bit weird and there's a lot of unknown. So a year ago, so 12 months ago in June, so last June, that same card was going for $127. 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, 12 months ago, they're within the range of $113 to $129. That's what they were going for within the last year. So that's why I think that this is a pretty safe bet. If the trends continue to go how they go and Ja Morant continues to improve and he comes back even stronger after their playoff run, their short playoff run that they had this year. I mean, think about it. He's only in his second year. So when he comes back for that third season, I just think he's gonna drastically improve. I'm hoping that he does. And out of him and Zion, I'm choosing Ja all day. I know a lot of people can disagree with that. A lot of people have, their doubts about Ja. A lot of people have their doubts about Zion. That's just my own personal opinion. I think Ja Morant is a safer play long term. I think that Zion, he's a big boy to be moving that agile. Not to say that he can't do it, but I just like to mitigate risk with the players that I'm picking up. And yeah, Ja Morant could get hurt as well, but I think he's at a pretty manageable weight. And I think that in this offseason, if he just continues to improve and get stronger, I just think that he's got a pretty bright future in the NBA. So like I said, if you can get these PSA 10s for around $60, I think that, or lower, obviously, I think that it's a pretty safe play. I'm not going to say that I have a crystal ball and these are going to go up. They're going to double when the season starts back up, but they're bound to go back up. They're just bound to. As long as he just continues to be a good player and the Grizzlies continue to improve and get healthy. I know Jaren Jackson Jr. Had some issues with injury, but once they get back, they take this off season to just improve and work on their health and get back to where they need to be. I just think that Ja Morant is going to have an even better year next year. He's only going to be better. So as far as the PSA 10 population goes, the high of the market value, which I pretty much just multiplied the total population of PSA 10s by the highest average they were going for within the last year, their highest market value was $576,243. The current market value is $272,487. So if you're looking at it of more of like a stocks perspective, the stock currently is almost at half of the highest high that it had. So if you believe in Ja Morant, if you believe that he's one of the new young players of the future of the NBA, I don't think $61 for a PSA 10 hoops is a bad idea. So moving on to football, Another player that I think has a really bright future in the NFL. And I think that if he can develop his passing game a lot more, and if the front office and the team can pick up some weapons for him to pass to and alleviate the pressure of him having to run so often, I think that Lamar Jackson is a pretty good player to invest in. I think he's a really safe bet if he can continue to, again, improve and stay healthy, of course. He's still really, really young in the league. And I believe in Lamar Jackson. I think he's exciting to watch. I think he's a great player. I think he's got a great mentality. I think he's got a desire to win. And I think that him, making it to the playoffs again, yeah, he didn't go far, but I think that he's chipping away at who he needs to be and who he wants to be as far as a top quarterback in the NFL. It's one of the top young quarterbacks in the game right now. Like I said, he's very exciting to watch, and I think he's a safe bet to make. I think more on the short term, just because NFL, we all know, not everybody's Tom Brady. Not everybody's Aaron Rodgers. Not everybody can be playing for that long. So NFL is a little bit riskier of a sport to pick up when it comes to the hobby, because their career span average is not that long in comparison to the other sports. So I would say more short term on Lamar Jackson, especially if he continues to run as much as he do. But I still think that he's a safe pickup as far as investing goes. So the card that I would suggest picking up is the 2018 Panini Prism Lamar Jackson card number 212, and that's PSA 9 base. So it's a base Lamar Prism PSA 9 rookie card. Again, the football season spanned from September of 2020 to February of 2021. So right now is the off season. It's in the middle of the off season for football. So now is pretty much where you're going to see the lowest prices for cards across the board in the hobby. So buy the dip if you can. If you believe in certain players, now is the time to buy. So the PSA 9 total population for the 2018 Prism Lamar Jackson PSA 9 is 2,789 cards. So that's 2,789 PSA 9s in existence today. The average of the last 3 sales is $153. I was picking these up maybe a couple months ago for about $170, $190 all day, and which I still think is a great price. But $153 is pretty low. I think that it's kind of found the bottom for the off season at that price, around $150-ish for this PSA 9. And so I think that, I don't know if it's going to get any better than this. If it does, I'm going to continue to pick them up. But $150 for an all-star quarterback, I think that that's not a bad price at all. So like I said, the average of the last 3 was $153. 3 months ago in March, they were going for $177. That's about when I was picking them up. 6 months ago in December, they're going for $168. 9 months ago in September, which keep in mind that's the beginning of the NFL season last year, they were going for $466. That's the average cost that they're going for 9 months ago. So that's at the very beginning of the season last year, and I think that was a really good time to sell at that point, since they were going for $466. And a year ago, so 12 months ago, they're going for around $157. So $4 more than they're going for around this time last year. That's why I think that if you just kind of look at the trends and kind of do your research, obviously you can dive a little bit more in detail with these prices and get more refined, go month by month, and see the best time to buy in the past year. But now is the time to buy these, I think. Even before the season starts, even before he takes the first snap, there's going to be a lot of that preseason hype. There's going to be a lot of hype building up to the NFL season returning. Prices are going to go back up. I'm banking on them hitting at least $350, at least doubling the cost that I picked up my cards at. I mean, they could go higher. I think that they could. I think that he's got the real chance to see a real value spike once the season spikes back up. I know at one point during the season last year, they're going for like $600, $650, these exact same cards. So, I mean, nothing bad has happened to him. He didn't get injured. Yeah, the playoffs didn't go how he wanted to, but he's still great. I'm sure he's improving. So I think that $153 for this all-star quarterback card, I think that's not a bad deal at all. And I think it's one of the safer bets as far as short-term investments go within the 4 cards that I'm mentioning. So the high market value at the time was $1.2 million for the total PSA 9 population. And that was 9 months ago, where that was the highest point in my market research. So that's what I based it on. So $1.2 million at the high, which was 9 months ago. And the current market value is $426,717. So that's about a third of the peak within the last year. So if that's not a good enough reason to pick those cards up, I don't know what is. But I think that that's one of those cards that's definitely going to make some returns on. I know I've got quite a few in my possession right now that I'm just waiting for the season to pick back up. I'm going to hold one long term because I really like Lamar and I believe in him, but I'm going to flip the rest once season builds up. Once I'm making a decent profit, yeah, I think that's one of the investment strategies that I'm taking this year. So let's move on to soccer. So the third card in my pickups is going to be a 2014 Panini Prism World Cup Lionel Messi. That's card number 12, and that's in a PSA 9. So like I said earlier, keep in mind that the soccer season is pretty much year-round. As far as Messi's season went last year, it's La Liga, which is the league that he was in last year, and who knows, maybe he'll still be, maybe he won't be this year. It ran from September 2020 to July 2021. The Champions League went from August 2020 to May 2021, and this year's Copa America runs from this month to next month to the end of July. So like I said, it's pretty much year-round. If there's any sort of break, it's that time between July and August. It's about a month off for the season. And soccer is pretty new to the hobby, so we don't really know. We haven't really established kind of market trends, I think, since the new influx of soccer cards in the market. So a lot of this is just speculation as far as the market goes. And this last year could be record lows that we should have been taking advantage of, and it may not ever get back to this point. So that my opinion is that soccer is just going to continue to go up and explode with the World Cup next year. I think that we're going to see really, really high prices, and that's why we've been investing so much in soccer. That's why we talk about it every episode. But I think that Messi is one of the greatest to ever play the game, if not the greatest. He's a walking legend. He's got all of the stats and the data to back that up. If I'm picking between Messi or Ronaldo, I'm picking Messi. That's just my own personal preference, and there's a lot of people that'll disagree with that. A lot of people that wouldn't even pick up Messi or Ronaldo. So this is just the card that I would pick up right now, that I have been picking up personally, and that I would suggest picking up if you want to make a flip in the future, or if you want to just get it at the best price possible. So the total PSA 9 population of this card is 2,419. 2,419 PSA 9 cards out there today. The average of the last 3 was $108. I was picking mine up foolishly at like $220, anywhere from $220 to like $180-ish. So I am holding the bag right now, but I'm not holding too much because I know these are going to go up. But like I said, the average of the last 3 is $108. 3 months ago in March, they were going for $222. That's around when I was picking them up. 6 months ago in December, they were going for $131, a little bit higher than what they're going for today. 9 months ago, they were going for $368, and that was in September. So that was around the time when soccer was spiking quite a bit last summer, and we saw some pretty high prices, and I just don't see any reason why it won't get back up there or surpass that. 12 months ago in June, so a year ago from today, they were going for $206. So like I was saying, I can make it pretty plain and simple with Messi. Messi is one of the best soccer players to ever play the game. He just is. He had a really great run with Barca. I don't know if he's going to stay there. Some people hope that he does. I personally want to see him in the Premier League just because I'm a bigger fan of the Premier League than La Liga, but that's just my own selfish opinion. But Messi will go down. He's already in the record. He's already in the history books. If you're new to the soccer market, or if you're interested in getting into soccer, if there's one person that's the safest bet to place your bets on, it's Messi or Ronaldo. In this example, I chose Messi. This next year is going to be his final World Cup, to my knowledge. And I think that there's going to be a huge hype built around it. Could be Ronaldo's as well. I think there's going to be a lot of hype built around it. That's going to be the storyline of the World Cup next year. It's just going to be. I think that the storyline that ESPN, that everybody that's been covering soccer and will continue to cover it, that is going to be the storyline. Messi and Ronaldo's last ride. It could be that, or it could be the changing of the guard. It could be Messi, Ronaldo, passing the baton to young players, young skilled players like Mbappe and Haaland. That could be the theme too. But all of the themes, all of the signs are pointing towards Messi and Ronaldo. There's going to be so much coverage. I'm sure there's going to be a 30 for 30 at some point, but there's going to be a lot of coverage around Messi and Ronaldo next year. And I just think that all eyes are going to be on them. And knowing that this could be their final World Cup, I think that we're going to see a Messi and Ronaldo that we haven't seen either in a while or ever before. I think they're really going to want to perform for their countries. They're both really prideful countrymen, and I think that we're going to see a spectacular performance by them. I could be wrong. It could be a poor showing like the last World Cup by them, but I think that there's a fire underneath both of them, and they both want to perform for their country. And I think Messi is a good play. You could also do the same with Ronaldo. I want to say Ronaldo's prices are pretty similar to these, but we just chose Messi for this example. So the high market value for the the first year Prism World Cup Messi's PSA 9s, the high market was $890,192, and the current market value is $261,252. So we're looking at close to about a quarter of the high market value. So if that's not any indication of buying the dip, that's definitely a good stat to base that off of. The final sport that we're going to be talking about today, the final card, is going to be for baseball. So I chose a 2016 Bowman Chrome Bo Bichette. That's card number BDC74, and that's a PSA 10. So a PSA 10 first Bowman Bo Bichette. The baseball season last year it was cut off obviously due to COVID. It went from July 2020 to October 2020. And this year's season started in April, and it goes on to November like usual. So just keep that in mind with these prices. We're in baseball season right now, so the prices are going to fluctuate differently than the other three sports were. But this is the research that I came up with. So for a 2016 first Bowman Bo Bichette PSA 10, the PSA 10 total population is 1,277. So that's the lowest of the four cards that I mentioned today. So I think that's a pretty safe bet right there, and especially in comparison in baseball. You see pretty high pop reports with rookie cards of certain players, and I think 1,200 is not bad for a PSA 10 population. So the average of the last three of the Bo Bichettes is currently $174. 3 months ago in March, so right before the baseball season started, they were going for $277. 6 months ago in December, so pretty much in the off season of baseball, they're going for $122. 9 months ago in September, so the end of the season, they were going for $163. And 12 months ago in June, so what would have been kind of the mid-season of the baseball season, it didn't happen due to COVID, so this was during the suspension. They were going for $81. So imagine even picking them up a year ago at $81. I think that would have been obviously that's the best price to get them at, but even in the off season, they're about $50 less than they're going for now. So $122. So if you would have picked these up during the off season at $122, you'd be up $50 on each card currently. I just think that Bo Bichette has a bright future with the Jays. They're one of my favorite teams to watch other than the Diamondbacks. I think that they have a very bright future. They've been swinging the bats. Vladdy's first in the home run race this year in comparison to Tatis. Obviously, that can change. I think it changes almost daily because they're neck and neck as far as the amount of home runs. But Bo Bichette's been swinging that bat too. He's got homers too. So, and he's got the power. And I just think that if he could just build the confidence around his game, I think that the Jays are already going to be a real big problem this year. I think that their season hasn't been going as well as planned. I think, not being able to play at their home field is kind of rough, not having that home field advantage. But I just think the Jays are going to have a really good season this year, next year, and for the seasons to come. If Vlad and Bo Bichette and Kevin Biggio and Simeon, if they can all just stay healthy and just keep on the offense, they're exciting to watch, man. And I think Bo Bichette's one of those guys. He's one of my favorite players. And I think that in comparison to him and Vlad, who's currently the home run king right now, I think that your safer but still good bet is going to be on Bo Bichette. Because Vlad's prices are way up right now because of how he's been performing. Deservedly so. But I think Bo Bichette is kind of a sleeper pickup right now, if not a pickup that we definitely would suggest going with. So that pretty much wraps up today's episode. It was a little bit different than what we usually do, obviously, with no Bruce. Again, he'll be back next week for our normal episodes and our normal routine. We hope everything's going good. And, I talk to him daily. I talk to him throughout the day. We talk a lot. So he is doing good. I know, just getting back into his routine. And we just wanted to continue to stay consistent and put out an episode a week like we intended to when we started this podcast. Life happens. Things get in the way. Last week's episode was a little bit late because I was actually taking a vacation with my fiance. We just announced that we're having a baby, so that's pretty exciting. I'm really, really excited about that. So we actually went to San Diego for about 4 days a few weeks ago during the last podcast. So that's why that was a little late. We want to continue to put these out every Monday morning, actually. Life happens, and I think that, if you're enjoying the fruits of your labor in the hobby, might as well spend it and, spend some time with your family and make sure that you're, refocusing and recentering and focusing on what matters most, and that's family. Bruce and I work constantly in our regular jobs and our 9-to-5s, and, we try our best to make that time to, spend the time with our family. I mean, he's got a baby and a wife. Life happens, man. And I think that these days, especially with the crazy year that we had last year, just in general in the world, I think that it's a good idea to just, like I said earlier in the podcast, just focus on what you have and be thankful for it. And we're really thankful for you. We're really thankful for your continued listenership. It does mean a lot. It's really nice knowing that there's people on the other end. There's other humans on the other end listening to us. Thank you for bearing with me today's episode. I definitely took it off the rails without Bruce here, but we wanted to make sure that you got your weekly episode. Feel free to reach out to us. Again, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, rate, review. Reach out to us on Instagram at Raw Mints. Give us a follow there. We post our daily content there, all about cards, and we're there to help too. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, or if you want to run anything by us, get a second opinion on anything before you purchase a card, just shoot us a message on Instagram and we'll respond for sure. This has been another episode of Wax Talk with Raw Mints. I'm Carlos, standing in for Bruce. Thank you for listening.